Hi, my name is Ginny, also known as Two-Thirds Lotus, and this clip is part of my series analyzing the Essential Bukowski, edited by Abel DeBrito. Nothing has been edited out, so you're seeing this exactly as it was streamed on Twitch, with all the imperfections and tangents of a live stream. If you want to learn more or catch me live, make sure to check out the description, otherwise enjoy the incredible work of Charles Bukowski. Here is The State of World Affairs from a Third Floor Window by Charles Bukowski. I hope we can all learn something from this poem. I am watching a girl, dressed in a light green sweater, blue shorts, long black stockings. There is a necklace of some sort, but her breasts are a small, poor thing. And she watches her nails as her dirty white dog sniffs the grass in erratic circles. A pigeon is there too, circling, half dead with a tick of a brain. Half dead with a tick of a brain. And I am upstairs in my underwear, 3-day beard, pouring beer and waiting for some literary or symphonic to happen. For something literary or symphonic to happen. But they keep circling, and a thin old man in his last winter rolls by, pushed by a girl in a Catholic school dress. Somewhere there are the Alps, and ships are now crossing the sea. There are piles and piles of H&A bombs, enough to blow up 50 worlds and Mars thrown in. But they keep circling. The girl shifts buttocks, and the Hollywood hills stand there, full of drunks and insane people. And much kissing in automobiles, but it's no good, che sera. Her dirty white dog simply will not shit. And with a last look at her nails, she, with much whirling of buttocks, walks to her downstairs court, trailed by her constipated dog, simply not worried, leaving me looking at a most unsymphonic pigeon. Well, from the looks of things, relax. The bombs will never go off. The State of World Affairs from the Third Floor Window by Charles Bukowski. I skimmed this poem the other day, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to say about this poem. Because Bukowski is Bukowski, and he's a dirty old man, his own words. I don't know. Yeah. I never heard of this guy before me. That's fair. There are probably lots of poets who I haven't heard of. So, it's like a weird poem, right? He's looking at a girl and her dog, her constipated dog, hoping for something literary or symphonic to happen, looking for inspiration, looking for something beautiful, looking for something grand. And all he sees is the boring, normal, and regular existence of a Los Angeles street, right? He lived in LA. And he comes to this conclusion that the bombs will never go off. And I find this very interesting, right? Because he's tying together these two disparate things, looking at a girl from his roof and like the Cold War and a pigeon, right? And the question is, like, what do these have to do with each other, right? I would like to start with an idea that we've talked about before. We talked about in somebody's poem not too long ago. I don't know, we talked about, it was one chatter's interpretation of another Bukowski poem. I believe it was maybe Drowning Devil. Could be wrong. We talked about the idea of the mundane. The mundane. The mundane, where nothing is really happening. Nothing is particularly inspiring, and it's just life. Like, it's Bukowski, who is probably... I'll point this out. Bukowski, in addition to being a professional alcoholic, was probably also a professional, like, ogler of women, right? This was something he did very much. And he cannot even find inspiration in a girl dressed in a sweater. The girl dressed in a sweater, the green sweater, the blue shorts, the long stockings, the necklace, right? He cannot find inspiration in the old man dying. He cannot find inspiration in, I guess, nature. I mean, it's a pigeon, right? He cannot find inspiration in a man who is old and dying. He cannot find inspiration in the news, which is talking about that there are ships crossing the sea, and there's war, and there's hydrogen bombs, and there's atomic bombs, right? And he's by Hollywood, full of very inspiring, romantic people, right? And yet, he finds no inspiration, right? Things are unsymphonic. And from the looks of things, relax. The bombs will never go off. And I think this is maybe the key to the poem. To say that basically nothing major, nothing grand, nothing of particular note to the regular person in their life will ever happen. Nothing really happens. And I mean, he talks about the dog being constipated too, right? Dog can't even shit, like he says. We're worried over nothing. Yeah. So, I think this might be the idea of the poem. And I'm going to go through and talk about how maybe, as I see this poem is about Bukowski in his miserable way, saying that life is bland, life is mundane, and in a sense, maybe that he can still write a poem about nothing, right? It is still poetic, right? So, I'm watching a girl dressed in a light green sweater. Blue shorts, long black stockings. There's a necklace of some sort. So again, jewelry, something that would normally be beautiful, right? There's probably a world where a poet could write about jewelry, something beautiful, and make a long, flowing poem about the necklace sitting on the neck of the girl down on the street, right? Except he just says there's a necklace of some sort. Lol, a non-poem. Maybe. But her breasts were a small, poor thing, and she watches her nails as her dirty white dog sniffs the grass. nails in erratic circles. In a sense, her watching her nails, she has no interest in things either. She's bored. This is something you do when you are bored. You sit and you look at your nails. I do this. I sit and look at my nails. I tend to pick at them, which is why my nail polish always sucks. Well, this is like a week old now. And as her dirty white dog, again, I think he actually does this well. It's not a white dog. It is not pure. It is not like vibrant in its white coat. There's nothing beautiful about the dog in its white dogness. You could probably talk about a gray Los Angeles and gray pigeons and gray buildings and unsymphonic things and talk about the white dog running in circles within that and find beauty. And Bukowski does not, right? Again, doesn't even run in circles. They're erratic. A pigeon too. A pigeon is there too, circling. And it's funny because Bukowski talks about bim 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 and everything having motion and there being life in every line. And then he hits us with this absolutely, I would say, uninspiring line of poetry. A pigeon is there too, circling. Like this, I would say, is about the most boring way you could say this. I mean, teachers talk about passive voice, how to not just say is, and like is, was, has. These are not very evocative words, right? A pigeon is there too. We have no information on where there is. It's just there in the scene. The pigeon is there, circling. That's all we get, that it's circling. Like, and it's a pigeon. Probably, to some people, probably to a resident of LA, the most boring animal you can see, right? And knowing Bukowski and his writing and the energy he puts in, I don't think this is just a bad Bukowski poem. It feels intentional, right? Like, to write a line so bad, so boring. It's not bad because he's using it, right? Yeah, it's totally intentional. Half dead with a tick of a brain. Yeah, like it's even something that is life, something that is nature, is sort of just boring and dead. I am upstairs in my underwear, 3-day beard, pouring a beer, waiting for something literary or symphonic to happen. And I do think, like, that's another key to the poem. This is saying, you know, he's looking in the world for beauty. And in its mundane nature, there really is none that is inherent. But they keep circling, circling, and a thin old man, in his last winter, rolls by, pushed by a girl in a Catholic school dress. Again, this could be the topic of a poem. This, last winter, like, that's talking about that this man is dying, and death, and powerful, difficult things, and a Catholic school dress. Religion, a powerful topic of poetry, especially in the face of death. His last poem in this book is about the priest and the matador, and talks about Catholicism. Like, he can write poems about all of these things. Somewhere there are Alps. So, like, apparently there are inspiring things out in the world. The Alps, ships in the sea, H&A bombs, which of course are like dramatic. War is dramatic. That's why we have a lot of literature, a lot of movies that are war movies and war books. because war is one of the greatest dramas that we create in life. There's death, there's suspense, there's two sides usually, at least in a war that we find maybe aesthetically pleasing, as disgusting as that sounds. But, I mean, you know, there are two sides, the Axis and the Allies, right? It's a drama, dichotomy. Romeo and Juliet, same thing. So he says, out there in the world somewhere there's drama. Out there. But this is not Bukowski's life. This isn't the life of a normal person. He was a normal person. He worked in a factory before he was a poet. He just and I think he maybe always did. He just worked a factory job, canning cans of food, and wrote on the side for a lot of his life. And he's kind of boring, right? But there's so much drama, enough to blow up 50 worlds and Mars thrown in, but this doesn't affect him. They keep circling. The girl shifts buttocks. So this is again, Bukowski being creepy old man, but I do think this is saying he could, I know Bukowski could write and objectify this woman and talk about this thing forever. You know, it's Bukowski. He's capable of talking about women, but he doesn't, because this girl is not someone who's accessible in his life. It's just something he sees from the top of his roof, right? Or from his third floor window, whatever. And Hollywood Hills stand there. He can see them, full of drunks and insane people. Of course, I think this is Bukowski giving us some amount of, his unreliable narrator irony, because he's a drunk, insane person. He is already in this poem pouring a beer, right? Which, of course, is a poetic thing. There's drama in being insane and being a drunk. He says that he finds drunk people, or not drunk people, but drunks, to be inspiring. He says this in an interview. I can try to find it and put it in the Discord. But Bukowski, there is art here. There is art everywhere. And it just doesn't exist if you let it be mundane, right? And much kissing in automobiles, but it's no good. Che sera sera. So kissing in automobiles, a scene from a movie, Hollywood. I don't actually know what Che sera sera is referencing. Che sera sera. Oh, it's a song. And what does that mean? Whatever will be, will be. But it's no good. Whatever will be, will be. So I guess that's sort of the equivalent of c'est la vie, right? Such is life. So that's the meaning. The song popularized the expression que sera sera as an English language phrase indicating cheerful fatalism. So, I think that's intentional. This is a very happy song. I think I've heard it, and I've probably heard it, right? But there's a cheer in this song, and that this maybe says that it's no good, none of it's interesting, fatalism, but at least I can enjoy the mundane, right? He doesn't seem to not be enjoying himself watching, He's still doing it. Her dirty white dog simply will not shit. Potentially, I think this might actually be a metaphor for himself. Running in circles, not being able to come up with anything inspiring, not being able to produce something. It feels like a metaphor. And with a last look at her nails, she, with much whirling of buttocks, already covered, walks to her downstairs court, trailed by her constipated dog, simply not worried, right? If we let the dog in its constipation be a metaphor for Bukowski, this makes sense. He can't write anything, but he really doesn't seem worried about it. He's like, yeah, this is life. Life is mundane. I don't need to write. Leaving me looking at a most unsymphonic pigeon. Well, from the looks of things, relax. The bombs will never go off. Which is an interesting conclusion. Because he says, like, it feels odd, I guess, with my interpretation, at least right now. Because he's maybe talking about... Well, he does say nothing happens. Nothing happens that is art. I think nothing that one can see out the window is ever inherently artistic. There is no drama in life if you don't make it, if you don't create it. And I think this is sort of a commentary on that. He talks a lot about, in his poetry, you know, what art does and how art brings things to life, right? But if you don't create art, if you are waiting for something literary or symphonic to happen, you're looking in the wrong place. Because the world is, roughly, for everyone, his state of affairs from a third-floor window. Drama is somewhere else. There are Alps far away. There are beautiful things. There are dangerous things. There is war far away. Here, there are some people. There are some civilians. There's a constipated dog. The Hollywood Hills are far away. And none of that is life in reality. And so, if you're a poet, maybe this says that you need to create drama. You need to create art. I mean, like, I found it fairly easy to say that, for example, I could write a poem about the necklace and its vibrance in relation to the world that is gray. I could talk about the pigeon and write a poem about it. I could talk about the man dying in this gray, horrible, boring state of world affairs, right? But to do that, I need to place that against something else and create drama and not just let everything be a part of the state of world affairs, the boring part. Sorry for disappearing and leaving the chat dead. End of my workday, filling out the timesheet and roundup stuff. No worries. Like, chat's dead a lot. I streamed to a dead chat for, I think a couple months before things really started to pick up. I know how to stream to a dead chat. And don't feel like you have to be here or expected to chat. That's not really something I want to give the impression of. Of course, I feed off of chat, and talking to y'all is great. I will not deny that. But, it's fine. So in a sense, this poem is very backwardly inspiring. If you let it be. because you can interpret this as Bukowski saying that the mundane, it's mundane, whatever, but we create art in it. And all we have to do is make something literary or symphonic to happen, because it won't happen. I'm going to take a little cat nap. See you later, Gin and Juice. See you later, Nico. It's been good to have you around. I'll see you at the open mic tonight. So yeah, that's hey, Petra Anna Marie, hello. How are you doing? We're just finishing up an analysis. I think we're finishing up. It's almost straightforward. This analysis of Bukowski's The State of World Affairs from a Third Floor Window. You're headed out as well. Gotta get meds and cook dinner for the fam. Absolutely. Take care of your people. Get those meds. And all is good. So I'm going to read this poem one more time. This strange, as author Brian Liu said, non-poem from Bukowski. Because it does everything that a poem doesn't. He doesn't place any literary or symphonic beauty in the world he sees from his third floor window. He writes about it in the most atrociously boring way. And I think that's to say that as artists we need to create beauty in the world we see. Otherwise the world is, as Bukowski shows, the state of world affairs from a third floor window. So, to give it one more read before we move on, here goes. I am watching a girl dressed in a light green sweater, blue shorts, long black stockings. There is a necklace of some sort, but her breasts are small. Poor thing. And she watches her nails as her dirty white dog sniffs the grass in erratic circles. A pigeon is there too, circling, half dead with a tick of a brain, and I'm upstairs in my underwear, 3-day beard, pouring a beer, waiting for something literary or symphonic to happen. But they keep circling, and the thin old man in his last winter rolls by, pushed by a girl in a Catholic school dress. And somewhere there are Alps and ships, and now crossing the sea, are now crossing the sea. There are piles of H and A bombs, enough to blow up 50 worlds and Mars thrown in. But they keep circling. The girl shifts buttocks, and the Hollywood hills stand there, full of drunks and insane people, and much kissing in automobiles. But it's no good. Che sera sera. Her dirty white dog simply will not shit. And with a last look at her nails, she, with much whirling of buttocks, walks to her downstairs court, trailed by her constipated dog, simply not worried, leaving me looking at a most unsymphonic pigeon. Well, from the looks of things, relax. The bombs will never go off. The State of World Affairs from a Third Floor Window by great American poet Charles Bukowski. Thanks for listening to me and my thoughts on Bukowski. Make sure to check out the rest of the series if you enjoyed, and follow or stop by Twitch if you want to see more. See you there.